Ruchica Tomar, who is a public relations officer. So, hi Ruchika. Hi.
Hi, Yohan. Nice to connect.
So what exactly is a public relations officer?
So, a lot of companies, organizations need to talk to their stakeholders, be it the government or their consumers, their users, to public at large, and to various industry bodies or various other stakeholders in that range to talk about what they do, how do they carry out their conduct their business, why are they doing what they're doing, if they're launching a product or a service, what that is about. So the job of a public relations officer is essentially to uh, communicate whatever a company or an organization is doing out to its external stakeholders. So
Mm-hmm.
that could include press, because press is a very important part of the entire ecosystem as it carries out the message from within an organization to outside about what a company does. So if I was suppose working with say an NGO, a non-government organization, and I want to talk about the kind of stuff we are into. What is the help that we're extending to people? Let's assume at this time during the pandemic. So a PR official's job would be to sort of give out this news to the press, and there are various ways in which we work. One,
Okay.
of course, is closely liaising with the press, and the other, of course, is direct engagement with people in the government or industry bodies, etc., to talk about the work that we are doing.
Okay. So which organizations have you worked for before?
So currently, I'm working with MakeMyTrip. I head up the PR and communications function. Prior to this, I was heading up Uber's corporate PR in India. And very briefly, I worked with a consultancy called Weber Shandwick, where I was, it's an agency, it's a PR agency where I basically learned the ropes of PR. And prior to that, I was a journalist for about 11 years. I worked with the India Today group. I worked there for about 8 years. And my first job was with the national broadcaster, that's DoorDarshan. I worked with DD News for about 3.5 years.
Okay. So how do you use technology and how do you think technology will impact your line of business?
Line of business in many ways, but just my in my specific domain of communication as well, in how we engage with our stakeholders. And I think we've all seen how technology has been so beneficial, especially during this period when we've all been locked down. But even otherwise, I mean, things move really fast. There was a time when people would learn about what's happened yesterday the next day when they get their newspapers, or they see an evening news bulletin when they would sort of get an update about what's happening in the world around them. But things move so fast. There are so many platforms, so many mediums, so many ways in which you can engage with people. So I see it in my domain that already I think the switch from print to digital has happened really fast. The changes are really fast paced. Even when you look at how the various tools that we are using internally, we may be using tools like Slack, etc. Externally, we are exchanging a lot of information or doing video calls with journalists. Even how an interview is now carried out with an executive of a firm with, say, investors, or even otherwise everything over in online. So yeah, it's helping change things really fast. You have to be really quick at things, and it's also in a way brought about a lot of transparency in how we sort of send out information to people. It's also made it easy in a lot of ways how we talk to multiple people at the same time. So yeah, interesting times.
Yeah. So what skills are really required to pursue this profession?
I think curiosity. I don't know. That's not really a skill, but I think that's the kind of attitude you need to have to excel in your kind of work. You need to be curious about something, and you need to have it in you to dig deeper and to be very focused on execution. But in terms of skills, I think you need to have a good command over your language. You need to, whichever language it is that you work in, and I think a deeper understanding, to develop a deeper understanding of subject matter that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. For that, you need to be very well networked. For that, you need to have very good understanding of your own industry. So I think those are some of the basics that is required to be good at your job.
Okay. So what relevant guidance do you have for those who are uh, looking to pursue this specific career today?
Guidance, I guess it would be, I think you really need to know what you're good at and then also be very, very self aware of things that you may not be so good at so that you can work on the things you're not so good at. Like, I'll give an example. In my field, not everybody is great at communicating. Like, so you need to be good at verbal as well as your written communications. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times you find people who may not be able to connect so well verbally. So when you know your challenges lie there, you have to find other ways to sort of fill that gap. My guidance to people would be to be very self-aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and at the same time, if they think they have an inquisitive streak, and if they are one of those who stays super curious about the world, the changes that are happening in the world around them, then they just need to sort of keep working on that so they're always abreast with information, because information is the currency that most of us deal in who are in the business of public relations. So we need to be people who are generalists who really know a lot of stuff, but at the same time we can go deep into at least into the when we're talking deep about our own industry, our own sector. So that those are some of the things that you need to develop over a period of time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
thank you, Ruchika. Thank you for your time.
Lovely chatting with you, Johan.
Yeah. See you later.
Okay, bye.